The club is back going up on a Tuesday. On Monday, yesterday, I dipped my toes into 2024 NFL best ball, rookies flying at me left and right, trying to learn players on the fly. I said, let's just make this an underdog challenge week, because today I'm going to dip my toes into NBA playoff best ball. We did a show like this similar time last year. I got obsessed. If you guys play NFL playoff best ball, a lot of the same principles apply. We're going to dig into kind of how the board is shaking out right now. The guys will fill me in on their favorite targets, and then we'll draft a few teams in the dance on Underdog Fantasy. It's the club with Pete, Andy, and Clay. Let's do it. Oh! All right, Clay and Andy, I believe last time we did a show was right before the Super Bowl. We built some Super Bowl pick'ems, so it's been a hot minute. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Yeah, things are good on my end, man. Got over the NFL stuff, NBA All-Star Weekend in the books, so we are officially we're in NBA mode, full on. We've been in NBA mode since October or whatever it was, but we're deep in NBA mode now.
Yeah, same here. Good. I didn't have any crazy luck with any of the playoff best ball finals. Was fine, but my teams were actually too good. They didn't have some of these more, Mecole Hardman or Juwan Jennings, and so just fine. But yeah, took a little bit of time off NBA, kind of right around All-Star break and all that, because it's really brutal then. Just players aren't playing, not trying, and so got a nice little reset and been back on the grind. No complaints otherwise. Excited. I've been taking a little bit of a break from the best ball NFL stuff. I did 20 drafts really early. Gonna start jumping back into that soon.
Shout out to the chat. Miles trying to get us in a little dance right now. JGFC. And then we have Sacrilegious, one of the sharpest NFL playoff best ball minds. I keep telling these guys over at Leg Up, get the tool going, NBA playoff best ball. Let's get you guys doing some NBA playoff best ball content. But yes, to answer your question, Sacrilegious, I think you can beat NBA playoff best ball just understanding those basic principles. Andy, would you agree? How much carryover is there strategically from NFL to NBA playoff?
There's definitely a lot. There are a few kind of interesting differences that you get where it's based on each round. And so one, there's no first round buys. So that's not a part of it. The other really big thing is different teams play a different number of games per round. And it's cumulative points for all of that. And so, for example, last year, the Sacramento Kings and Golden State Warriors went 7, and it was really, really high scoring. And it just totally fucked the boards because if you didn't have those players, you just weren't going to advance. And it was very concentrated too, just on a couple of players. So that adds a pretty interesting dynamic where instead of having first round bye risk, you kind of have sweeping risk where it's the Celtics are awesome. They're going to be really good. They have, they're the favorites to win the title, but they're probably going to sweep whoever they play in the first round, or odds will be high that they win 4-0 or 4-1, and so they're not going to accumulate as many points. And so when you do that, you probably want to, try to adjust otherwise. But it still does carry over. I would say, Zach, you'll like this. It's probably even less people building actual lineups that can have 5 players in the finals than NFL. It's a lot of people just getting their guys. It seems very, very casual and unstructured because there just isn't the same level of content creation around it and kind of education. And so I don't think people are really thinking through those things.
Yeah. How many, because that is a huge difference with the NFL. It's the majority of the teams are for sure playing one game and a max of one game, and a minimum of one game. And then there's 2 teams playing 0. And in this, you could be anywhere from 4 to 7. And every spot you inch up closer to 7 pushes what the studs on those team into a higher likelihood of being on like the optimal or on a majority of advancing teams?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like, especially with some of the really high end guys, like getting an extra game from a Jokic or something is an extra 50 to 70 fantasy points, maybe even more. And that's a lot.
90 sometimes.
Yeah. And
Like
so it really, really can make a big difference. And so there is a lot of variance, especially in those first couple of rounds when you could just have two like pretty shit teams end up going 7 and really changing things around.
Does that manifest in making it a little bit more viable to playing multiple sides of a single game, or like a one-off, like say you had the Warriors and Kings last year and you had 3 Warriors and you tack on like a Kings Faller because you're like, I think this thing is going to go the distance and I want to use that as an advancement piece? Or do you think that's still a mistake to be burning a player in round 1?
I haven't looked at like any data to back it up. I think it probably depends. Like if it's really early and a guy's just dropping in the ring, especially right now where we don't know what the seats are going to be, just because they're projected to play each other. If it's early and a guy's dropping and he's, say it's like Luka is dropping or something, like sure, grab a one-off Luka and hopefully he advances you. Or just grab the Mavs and hope that the way that things play out, he doesn't play whoever it is that they're projected to play right now. But I think probably for the most part, you still would want to avoid it if you felt you had a really high degree of certainty that those teams were going to play each other in the first round. I would probably still try to avoid it if possible. But like that's all anecdotal. I haven't seen any like actual data to back that up. And I will say the one other thing to think about is last year was like very unique with a 1 seed or an 8 seed making the finals. Like 8 seeds almost never advance out of the first round, let alone make the finals. So that definitely is like I think threw a big wrench in a lot of people's kind of thought process and stuff. And I think people are maybe a little overexcited to draft some of like the 9, 10 seed teams who are going to be in the play-in and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because like the Heat were even going pretty undrafted for a long period of time because everyone thought they were going to straight up miss the playoffs, and they like won the playing game against the Hawks and then went on the run, right? So they were low owned before they were even guaranteed to be in the play-in tournament. The other wrinkles too are like you don't quite have the Mecole Hardman, Juwan Jennings kind of effort here in like drafting, because the projectable points are just so different in NBA versus like NFL. There are teams where you can take 5, 6 guys and you're always, as Andy said, trying to build that 5 person finals roster. But it's a whole different wrinkle. And I was going back and listening to our stream last year and going back and looking at some old ETR best ball stuff, and it is interesting to think about like how you stack up teams, and you might take like 2 anchor players and run it with like 2 to 3 players across like 3 different teams across a different conference, and kind of just try to get 5 in the finals, but correlate more studs accordingly, which is a little bit different than how I would draft NFL best ball rosters, where I'm trying to target 2 to 3 teams more specifically. I'll be a little bit more lenient in like NBA, especially coming out of this last NFL best ball season, where I felt like I was like overstacking 2 to 3 teams in some respects.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Clay.
Say that point again, and then we'll see if we can get a lineup pulled up here.
I think basically like where you get spike games in NFL, that's like not really a thing in the NBA. Like the guy who's putting up 10 fantasy points a game is probably not going to put up 50 fantasy points a game for a full series. And so in the case where he does, it's probably because their best player is hurt and they're not going to advance anyways. And so it's like, it's really not compelling to me. Like if you say have like Jokic and Jamal Murray and you really need another nugget, but a lot of the good ones got taken, getting like the 6th best nugget or something, or 7th best nugget, if you need it to field 5 players in the finals, like sure, I think it's worth it. But like you kind of have to assume that for the most part, they're not going to give you that much. And not a lot can change outside of injuries for that to really change. And so I think there is not quite as much of a benefit of like scrolling down to try to get unique for some guy who's coming off the bench, especially because in the playoffs, these rotations tighten. You get down to like
Yeah.
6 or 7 player rotations, and it's just there's
And
not a lot of
usage
points
will
to go
tighten.
around.
They'll just funnel it through the main players even more so than regular season as well. So it's kind of like a double count that, I mean, well, counting appropriately, but counting both those parts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find the winning team from last year. I don't know if you.
I didn't have a team in the final. I just checked mine. I had a bunch of Sebi's teams that didn't get there.
I'm not sure
Bobby,
if I made it either.
Mentioning advance rate, very important as well. 2 of 6 in round 1, and then it's 1 of 10 in round 2, 1 of 6 in round 3, and then a 310 seat final. This is for the dance, which is the big contest, $10 entry, 500,000 in total prizes, and what is it? 50,000 up top. The little dance is not as daunting because it's 2 of 6, 1 of 5, 1 of 5, 100 seat final. So that's
I found it. I forgot that Chip chopped up the finals last year.
I forgot about that. Can you share that?
Yeah, it's a 9-way. I got it. Yeah, let me.
1 of 10 is brutal in the second round. Like that
1 of 10 is nuts. Yeah,
that's really tough. And like, as you know, it is just so you cannot predict how long these series are going to go. There's so much more variance in this kind of contest than, as we talked about like NFL. And the other kind of fun wrinkle this year, I think, is, as the standings currently are at this point in the season, and we got, a couple weeks left here, I think like 25 games in the regular season. Like the teams like the Lakers, the Warriors, like they're right now like in the play-in tournament. And so like they're not like sitting in this situation where they're guaranteed to even make the playoffs. And then some of the younger teams that have had amazing regular seasons, like they haven't proven in the playoffs yet. So you can really kind of like pick your adventure as to like what kind of story you're going to tell yourself for like how these teams perform in the playoffs, like who's going to make a run. So it'd be fun to like look at the standings here in a minute too, and kind of just suss out who we think are legitimate teams, are contenders and pretenders.
Yeah, it's just working now. I can't see my StreamYard anymore, but I think it's shared.
If you can just zoom in, we'll be good.
Yes. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Maybe one more. Yeah, so what we have, De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray, Devin Booker at guard, Caldwell Pope, Bruce Brown, Jimmy Butler, Aaron Gordon at wing, Bam, Sabonis, and Jokic. So this was 2 Sacramento.
3 teams. Oh, well, 4 teams. 1 random Booker.
1 random Booker. And then how many Denver? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Denver. Yeah. And then 2 Miami. And I mean, Butler and Bam, those guys had to have one of the most insane like advance rates of any combo because those guys were cheap and went deep and it was super concentrated.
I reckon those were probably the last 2 picks that were made on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see these teams are kind of all somewhat different, but you can see a lot of them have Fox or Curry. Like Chip's team was surprising to not have one of them. But like James Harden had a good first round. But yeah, and then structurally, I think it's 1, 1, 1, and 2 flex, so you can kind of just draft the best players for the most part.
Yep.
I do think it's interesting too. I think you can like make a better case in this format for going a little bit more hero-y, kind of like this team with Bam and Jokic, where it's like when you draft someone like Jokic with your first pick, like if he is not the one who is scoring your points for the big position, like you're fucked regardless.
You're fucked.
And so I think like doing that and then taking Bam and whatever, probably pretty late in the draft, or kind of just like if you have a guy like that, not feeling like you need to get more depth in the bigs position, and instead just taking the best player available when you get to that point, I think is like a pretty valid strategy here versus NFL.
It's the same thought of like in a season-long best ball draft. If you take, Josh Allen in the second round, you really need to wait. Like, yeah, you're probably going to draft a second quarterback, but you don't want to spend any kind of significant capital because you're counting on him to be in your starting lineup most weeks.
Yeah, I was one difference.
Almost even go a step further and take one. I think
just one.
Yeah, I think you can make the case for it. Like with Jokic specifically, like big is a little bit thinner sometimes, or wing too with like a Giannis. Like I wouldn't say like explicitly go out of your way to do it, but if you just never get a chance to draft another good wing again, like really, what is the world where you're drafting Giannis and he's not on your finals team after you pick him second overall, and you're like winning money? I don't know.
The only thing I would say, like, in kind of retort to that, Andy, is like I think it's a little different than how we treat, because that's like that's exactly the principles I would use for the season long best ball. But I was just looking at the like the starting roster for the dance, and it's like you have 2 flex spots, and you're only filling one position technically, like 1 guard, 1 wing, 1 big. So to me, I might be inclined to treat a little differently than I would if it was like, you know, two guards, 2 wings, like it is in the regular season format. There's only 1 big slot, and so you can get away with like going, you know, bully big or kind of prioritizing more in that sense. I mean, I don't disagree with what you said, but I would be, you know, if you got an option for like 3 good bigs, like you could fucking crush the flex spot, and that's a different scenario.
Yeah, no, totally. I think like it doesn't mean never take another big. Just like don't feel like you have to, and draft someone.
Sure. It's always contextual to like how your drafts go onto your team.
Yeah. So I have it pulled up here. Like I said, 1 guard, 1 big, 1 wing, 2 flex, and then 5 bench spots. You mentioned there is, what are the positions? Big, obviously, and then did you say wing? There's kind of scarcity issues.
It feels that way. Scarcity. Yeah, you get squeezed. I was trying to build out a Clippers like stack earlier. I took Kawhi, and then I turn around and another player on the end of the board started drafting Harden and PG. And then so I ran out of my Clipper stuff, and then I was like, fuck, let me pivot. And there was like no other good wings to take. And I was kind of just like shit out of luck trying to like back end, you know, like a MPJ or something, even though it's the same conference, just to get some sense of like teams that can make it to the conference finals. I'm actually going to try to apply some of Zach's, you know, logic from the NFL season, which is like, I'm going to put more emphasis on conference finals this year drafting than the NBA finals, and see how that fares for me too. And try to make that push for advanced rates, but also like get more shots on goal for teams actually live in the finals, rather than just, you know, paring myself down to 2 to 3 teams in every draft.
Right. And that's kind of Billy in the chat asking about constructions. Do we like 4-3-3, 4-2-2-2? Chip chimes in, says he likes those, or 3-3-2-2. So obviously when you have the 4 teams, you can make yourself live to have all live players via the 2 conference finals with those 4 teams, which always seems like a worthwhile goal.
Yeah, it is a little tricky, because it's like, you know, not every team is going to have 4 guys that you're like thrilled to take. You're probably going to be sacrificing a little bit when it comes to the 4th player on some of these teams that are viable to make it to the finals. Like the Celtics come to mind. Like they have, you know, you start talking like Derek White is your like 5th-ish guy or your 4th guy. And it's like he can put up, you know, a good score in some games, but he's also like not, you know, who you necessarily want in all facets. But if you're building out a Celtics, you know, team to go to the finals, and you probably do want him, because he's probably going to count for points in that regard. So I've been struggling a little bit with like trying to go down to 2 teams. I've been trying to allow myself to open up more and take, you know, still field a roster of 5 in the finals with a particular matchup, but not shy away from taking, you know, 2 players on a team.
I just pulled up the ADP here. So 5 Celtics go in the first 19 picks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of steam on the Celtics.
And as Andy said, I mean, if they sweep, it's not the best draft capital. Like you're going to be losing out on some. You're going to have an opportunity cost there with, and I think it's likely they sweep. I mean, man, it's like I was pulling up the predictions earlier.
The teams that they could potentially play in the first round are awful.
Complete dog shit.
Yeah. Do we have?
That's tough.
Is as far as like the overall playoff picture and the uncertainty, people, it seems like obviously very confident in the Celtics. Is the West just like wide open as far as who people think could make the finals?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean Nuggets, like just kind of being the team that I think marches back. I don't know if you saw earlier, but evidently the Joker sent a little text to his teammates after All-Star game that kind of invigorated the crew. KCP was quoted saying that they are locked in and ready to win another championship. So boost them up the draft boards, although Joker can't go higher than the 101. It's pretty wide open. I mean, you got the Timberwolves at the top, the Thunder at the top, the kind of the historic teams, the Lakers, the Warriors at the bottom, the Mavs at the bottom with Luka. So I don't know. I mean, like, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, the Thunder are going to go to the finals, but they look great and they're young. They got legs that can maybe withstand, a run like that. So I mean, I might let Andy take over some Homer chat on the viability of the Thunder, but it's wide open in the West this year.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets are still the favorite. I think I think betting market wise they are as well.
And the Clippers.
But yeah, it's interesting because I think the Timberwolves and the Thunder in the 1 and 2 seed are probably like a little bit considered pretenders. And so that like creates some interesting dynamics. The West, as far as the 10 teams that are in, I would say is almost, it's kind of locked in. I don't think it's going to change. So you do have a bit of, the player pool with very high degree of certainty. But it is interesting because I think, the Lakers and the Warriors, whoever wins that and ends up as the 8 seed, I think that they will be very live to upset the 1 seed if it's the Timberwolves or the Thunder. And so that'll create some interesting dynamics. But, drafting either of these teams right now, they're playing each other in a 1-game winner takes all, and the losing team is out. And so it's an interesting kind of dynamic there. You can definitely take those guys, and it's a high upside bet if they are able to upset the 1 seed. And like someone said earlier, there's no reseeding, and so if the 8 seed upsets the 1 seed, they get kind of the softer next matchup. They don't play the winner of the they wouldn't play like the 2 seed or something if the 2 seed won. And so yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Do you guys find like in your early builds, are you mixing in any like 7 through 10 seed? Like, is there a path for like any of these teams to make a finals run or even a conference finals run that would make them part of your plans?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think now's the time to do it too, because like, I guess my strategy too is I am trying to go deeper into consolidated teams while it's still more wide open, and then I think I'll get more like, let me grab 2 Clippers and then build out finals roster compilation of Eastern Conference teams I think have a chance to maybe contend with the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been doing it as much. It's something that I want to get more, especially, Kings, Mavericks, Lakers, Warriors are all pretty saucy in the right. If they're healthy and in a series, it's a coin flip in some regards against like the Timberwolves, the Thunder. But the Nuggets and Clippers to me are the standouts in the West. Like everyone else, you can really poke some holes in. I think they're
also by far the betting favorites right now.
Yeah,
they're both. Yeah. They have significantly better odds than the next highest team to make the finals.
And you're just kind of hoping they don't play each other in the round 1, which unlikely they will, but it could happen. If the Suns make a run or something happens, like there's still some stuff like that I think will happen between 4 and 8, 9.
So that's
and also for context, because this doesn't necessarily give that. The Clippers between the Clippers and the Timberwolves, they're all very close to each other. They're all within a game or 2. So that could be a bad week, and all of a sudden the Timberwolves are 4 and the Nuggets are 1 or whatever else. So that 4, they're kind of separated from the pack.
The Clippers are only 2.5 games back right now from the Timberwolves, and they're the 4th in the Western Conference. And like Andy said, that could change between now and the next club that we have. Like them being the 1 seed. It's yeah.
And then in the East, you said Celtics very solidified there at the 1. Who do you guys like to challenge in the East for Eastern Conference Finals?
It's really the Bucks or bust. Like unless Embiid comes back and can put a run together with 76ers, but I have a hard time. Like I don't believe in the Cavs. As fun as the Knicks can be, and I don't know. They don't have a deep enough team, in my opinion, to really make a run super, super far. And I don't really take anyone else seriously. Like I don't see the Heat, Pacers, and the Magic, Bulls, Hawks. Like they might as well not even be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say in the East, it kind of is a pretty intense drop off. I would argue after the Heat, and then the Pacers are maybe in a bit of a tier of their own. And no one else is really contending. I think that there's been some interesting Knicks steam. They've had really bad injuries. But like if they can come back and be healthy, I think there is a bit of a thought that they're a really deep team. They have a lot of strong players. Sixers just need Embiid to be healthy, and it's a total unknown. And so, yeah, I think for the most part, it's people thinking Bucks are the potential kind of a contender with the Celtics, but they've kind of looked like shit too, and so
Yeah.
the Celtics are just like far and away the favorite in the East.
But I don't love him I don't love drafting him. It is a weird juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Let's see. Before we rip a couple of drafts, I'll pull up the ADPs here again. I remember last year when we did this early show, it was like right before the Lakers made their run, and it was like AD and LeBron were like really big values. Do you have any guys you guys are getting out in front of right now, anticipating some steam?
I think that the Clippers guys, like I think Paul George is like a little low comparatively. Like I don't see why he should be that much further back from James Harden. I'm like maybe in the other direction. I'm really not interested, like Clay was saying, in like Jaylen Brown. I love Jason Tatum. I'll draft him every time. Jaylen Brown doesn't really excite me. He just doesn't put up the most fantasy points. I'd rather draft some of the later Celtics. I think in general, some of the Thunder players I'm a little bit interested in. Like, can you pull up what their ADPs are? I'm not sure. I haven't done a draft in a couple of days.
Who's?
The Thunder.
Yeah.
So, because I think they're gonna have a home, a playoff series in round one where they're probably favored, but I don't think they're gonna like sweep a team. They're a team to me where even if they're the one seed, I can totally see their series going 7 games either direction. And so, like being able to get a Jalen Williams and pretty late in the draft who could very well score 50 points a game for 7 games is like pretty compelling to me, especially in a position that is probably the thinnest position. So that's one that I don't hate. Probably not, sometimes you maybe want to build around them winning it all. I think they're kind of nice as like a counterparty to someone like the Celtics, where you think they might sweep their first series. I'd be shocked if the Thunder swept their first series. So I think that's like a potential interesting pairing.
And it sounds like that's just a dynamic to think through in general, specifically like when you guys mention, potentially overinflated Celtics players, or let's say any player whose ADP is maybe inflated because of the market certainty of them going deeper into the playoffs versus a more impact or high usage player on a team with slightly less certainty to go far in the playoffs. But it almost doesn't matter in this version of the game, because when that team does go deep into a series or advance beyond expectation, they're just smashing from a cumulative points total in a way that makes them just far better cost-adjusted picks than the other guys. Like even when that Celtic stuff hits, you're still probably not getting as many raw points as you would like.
No, you're hoping to sneak them. You're going to need your rounds 5 through 10 picks to really carry your team. That's kind of what you're banking on. I like the Sixers too. I am trying to get a little bit ahead of Embiid. Like, should be healthy in time for the playoffs. We're getting close to like a report. So if it's positive and it's like he's coming back, in time to tune up for the last 2 weeks of the regular season, they're still in great standing in the Eastern Conference. And if he's healthy, and they're an interesting team too, because it's really only like Embiid, Maxey, Harris that are even getting drafted. As you can see, like Harris, below are like not going every draft. I mean, Harris is, I guess.
I think the Sixers are probably the highest like leverage team. Where if you think Embiid is going to be healthy for the playoffs, 90% or higher, their ADPs don't make any sense. And so it's kind of one of those things where if you have that feeling, or even just doing some drafts where you act as if that is true, it's probably worth the time.
Are there any other injury situations that can flip the board like that other than Joel?
Only new injuries.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like pending potential injuries otherwise.
Okay.
I guess the other one would be the Knicks with Julius Randle and OG Anunoby. Julius Randle's timeline to return is more unclear. OG Anunoby had elbow surgery recently, but it seems like it was more like cautionary kind of. So he's only going to be out a couple weeks. But Julius Randle, his injury's been weird. He's been out for a while. It's kind of not super clear what's going on with him. So that's one where I think the Knicks are significantly scarier if both of those players are back and healthy. And then you also have Mitchell Robinson too. I don't really know what his health situation is right now, but he's been out for most of the season and he's their best center. So they have a lot of kind of injury unknown. And if you feel strongly one way or the other on them, you can probably either fade them or be a little bullish on them. I think that fully healthy, I think they'll be favorites to win their first round for sure. Almost to get no matter who they would play below them. Maybe the Sixers would be a tough one, but
nice.
Pretty bullish on them if they're healthy.
Yeah.
You guys want to hop in, put some of these ideas on their feet?
Let's do it.
All right, we can draft together if you guys want to.
Yeah, I'll do this one together. I'll let someone else hop in there unless we need to fill it.
I just hopped in, I think, on.
Wow, Clay.
Well, I had my phone out because I know. Oh, 101. There we go.
Me and Andy versus Clay. Oh. So Clay, is Jokic just head and shoulders? Not really a debate for one, because it was last year. It was Jokic and Giannis were kind of flip flopping at times.
Yeah, I'm not overthinking it. Like, he's the 101 in every daily draft he's in, pretty much, aside from maybe a rare Luka spot. And it's just cleaner to me than taking Tatum. Could push Giannis up to the 101, but I'd rather just take him if I get the 2 through 4. So no, I'm into Jokic 101.
All right. And then Andy, we feel good about either Tatum or Giannis.
Yeah, I think you basically just take one of those two, and then that's kind of your Eastern Conference team in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think you could also make the case to do it with Kawhi and try to get 2 of the 3 Clippers. But I think that he is a step behind. Yeah, I mean, Tatum here is a total smash. That's exactly what you want.
Does getting Tatum there unlock any slightly more unique Celtics combos in the second, or not really?
Falls.
I don't know. I think you could. I would probably try to push Derek White to the 3rd. I'm not sure what that ADP is in the 3rd round or what that draft pick is, but it's right around there. I would try.
Because it looks like by ADP,
you compare him with
the Jaylen Brown Porzingis is like a chalk double tap at the turn.
Yeah, which like that to me is like not super compelling. I get it, but you're just taking Porzingis puts up some pretty solid points, but passing up on those guys, passing up on the Shea, Luka kind of level of guys, you really need to hit your later draft picks to get you some serious points to advance.
Yeah, so Kawhi goes 4, Jaylen Brown goes 5, Porzingis 6. Chat likes taking KP with a West guy, and it seems like you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I like Porzingis more than Jaylen Brown, just like probably almost straight up. I'd have to think about it more. But
the board, go KP, Derek White.
Whoa.
Wow.
So that's getting nervous. Nothing's coming back to you. So we're back on the clock here. Luka, Edwards, Jamal Murray, Durant.
Yeah. So for me, this is a situation like I would just take Luka because it's Luka, and he's probably going to score a shit ton of points in the first round, and they could potentially make a run.
Aren't they coming on right now? Aren't they have they rounded?
Yeah, the Mavs are good. Yeah, I think
trade deadline. Yeah, they got a lot better. And I don't think guys like, PJ Washington and Gafford are, they're considerable. But it's everything for them runs through Luka and Kyrie. Let's see here.
Play on the turn here.
Yeah, I'm going to build out. We're going to go chalk Jamal, and what do I want to do here? I'm gonna go Dame.
So is JG feeling sniped now when you don't get your Giannis and Dame? Or is it not a big
Possibly.
deal?
If he's going for a Bucks Timberwolves final, then yeah, I probably cucked him pretty good. But gotta build for my own final. Embiid's a good take on his part, though.
So we're back. Andy.
So I think, yeah, I like Jamal or Drew Holiday. If you wanted to go for the Celtics thing, is not very exciting to me. I would take one of Durant and Paul George, and then basically those are my two West teams, and do like a 3-team thing where it's take like last 2 rounds, 2 more Celtics, like Xavier Tillman and someone else or something, and
yeah, and just play the Celtics as our sole East team.
Yeah. And kind of just be like, you have the best Celtics player, and say, what if they sweep the first 2 rounds, but you don't need him to even advance. So it's like you have Durant, he's gonna be your wing, and Tatum's your secondary kind of guy, as opposed to needing him to be the guy to drop some crazy amount of points for you, 300 points in the first round, and advance you.
Yep.
Like I think with the Celtics, I'm most interested in like a 4-4-2 or something where you're just kind of saying like, give me one other Celtics player and then let me load up on 2 West teams, or it's kind of just like taking the best available and not feeling like I need to have a ton of Celtics players.
Yep. So we started Tatum, Luka, Durant. Clay started Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Damian Lillard. And then
yeah, like if Booker falls to you, that's awesome. Do need a big at some point, but you can kind of just like, you could kind of piecemeal together Al Horford and Daniel Gafford and Nurkic, and you just need one of them to do well, and none of them are smashes by any means, but you're probably fine.
That'd be a pretty insane start.
Because we're just going to be getting so many points from wing and guard that we can lose the big battle. And also because there's only a couple of like game-changing bigs anyways.
Yeah. We're kind of like already almost getting past the ones who will really matter, or who have like a chance at making the finals.
So we'll see what Mario does here. We're picking in the 4th round. He does go Brunson, which means Booker's our easy pick.
So I think Booker is awesome here.
Wow.
We've gotten like just slight ADP values on all of our picks, which is starting to help.
Yeah, it's a nice team.
Clay, you take a couple of Denver wings, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter. I remember this dynamic last year, right? Wasn't there just like an infinite amount of Denver wings to take?
All right, let's see. Who do we have available?
They even had
here?
like Braun too.
The easy pick is to take Kyrie, but we also could reach for Al Horford and get our second Boston guy and get a big. Those would be the 2 options. But I think I would just take Kyrie because he's going to score a shit ton of points.
Yeah. And like I said, now like a 3 flex is so much more flexibility, all pun intended, with your scoring.
And we have the best player on Boston, the 2 best players on Dallas, and the 2 best players on Phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of like what you're saying. Now let me fill in the rest around that. But I just think it's a really solid base, and you're going to get some bigs, and none of them are going to really blow you away. But if one of them has a good series, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't hate Xavier Tillman. I think he's someone who they traded for, and there's a world where he can get some minutes in the playoffs. We'll see. I don't think he's a bad player. And you could take him in like the last round or second to last round. And so, yeah, I think I'm not sure what the ADPs look like here. I would imagine Nurkic is the highest ADP of the bigs on these teams. He's on Phoenix. But now you're probably going to have to be reaching down a little bit to basically get the guys who are going to give you those advanced pieces. I think there is also a case to be made for taking just like a one-off big who is going to put up points, but I don't love doing that. You can probably do it later if you really want to.
Like later in the draft window, you mean, or later in a draft?
Yeah, or you like Sabonis to me is just like a one-off big who, assuming they're in the first round, is going to score a lot of points. Will be very rare if he played against the Mavs or the Suns.
So who's our pick here? Are we taking a Dallas or
Nurkic would be, and it feels bad reaching that far for him, but
we got to stick to our structure.
Yeah, I think it's worth it because we just have such strong players already.
Mm.
I'm just going to start stacking East guys and teams I think have any kind of viability to go against the Denver 4-piece.
So I think there is a case to just take like either Jarrett Allen or Sabonis just to get or Bam to have a second strong big for first round.
Do you like Sabonis as the faller?
I do. I mean, he's just the one who's going to put up the most points for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like having him as a one-off, you just feel way better about your big points in the first round.
Yeah. And it's not like we're sacrificing our ability to field a starting lineup. We're basically just acknowledging that we're going to burn at least one player by the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So through 7 rounds, we got
Can
Tatum,
we pull
Luka.
up what the
Celtic
or what other Celtics are on the board? I want to just get a look. I think the next highest guy is Tillman.
Yeah, Tillman, Pritchard, Hauser.
And then can we take a look at the Dallas and Phoenix guys real quick?
Yeah. Dallas, Gafford, PJ Washington.
Yeah, take them in the last 2 rounds.
And Phoenix, Beal, Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon.
I mean, Beal.
Yeah.
You don't need another guard, really. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, this is where it's hard.
Do we take Beal?
I think you probably just do. It doesn't feel great getting another guard, but because now you basically have a 5 stack for a Phoenix Boston finals.
Right.
Which is nice. And so then you can fill in basically the same thing with Dallas now with your last 2 picks in PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. And that'll give you a clean Tatum and 4 for either Phoenix or Dallas, which feels nice.
Yeah. And then, like you said, in that scenario, we're really playing for a couple Celtics sweeps where just so many Celtics teams get wiped out.
Yeah.
Clay.
Yeah, you see, like building around the Celtics is really hard. It's like, it's very challenging because either you're reaching for a guy early who is not projecting that well. It's kind of like how the drafting the Niners were, but the Niners players like actually scored a lot of fantasy points, whereas like the Celtics guys don't. Like on a given night where the Celtics are playing in like a regular week of Underdog, they're outside of Jason Tatum. Like most of them go pretty late. Porzingis or Jaylen Brown sometimes will. Like I think. Let me check tonight what the ADPs are. I think they're playing. Yeah, so like Tatum's going 4th overall tonight.
Bobby brings up that if the Bam over Sabonis would have given us that second Eastern Conference team playing more for the conference final stuff. All right, so we grab Gafford here.
I think so. And then you get one of PJ or Hardaway. It seems like you'll be able to get PJ for free, but get one of those two with your last one.
Man, Anthony Davis seems like a nice price.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are they're a team people aren't super jazzed on. But getting them that late, if they make it through, it's going to be nice to have AD. Because they're another team where odds are they're not sweeping anybody in the first round, and I don't think LeBron's going to get swept in the first round if they make it.
I know. I wanted to double tap LeBron AD there.
Yeah,
that's a tough one to lose. He was probably hoping the same thing.
I know.
He was.
I know, but I couldn't let AD slip. There's just too many points that I could use in a flex spot to try to like overcome my weak wing position. Because wing is just so uncomfy, man. That's why LeBron would have been clutch there too to get him in particular.
Yeah, it's the other nice thing about having Tatum as your sole Celtic is it is the thinnest position.
What's do we have a slate tonight?
Yeah, it's a fun one. They're trying something new for the NFL daily or NBA dailies. They're splitting it up into two slates fully. So there's the first 9 games of the night are one, and then they're doing they call it Dunking After Dark, which is the 10 o'clock games. I think it's 2 games tonight. Are totally like those players are not available in the early slate, this is the first. So there's lots of contests.
Are they doing it so did they get feedback like people don't want to have to like stay up to sweat super late, or like what's the thought there?
The thought is mostly around like when you have the players in the Dunking After Dark contest or in the late contest in the main one as well, you're kind of like it's nice to not have that because you get 2 uncorrelated batches of entries for the night. And so you could get crushed in one and do well in the other if you're really high on one player in one of the late games, whereas when they're combined, it's not necessarily the case.
Okay. All right, we just added PJ Washington to the squad to round this out. Clay, you get to pick Mr. Irrelevant here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I should like take a one-off Paolo for points because they're like sitting pretty decent for making the playoffs right now. It feels kind of gross though. And then it's like, do I add on a Turner for Pacers stuff? But then I have pretty good at big. But I think I'm gonna do that anyways because like let's say the Pacers make a run deep, I think it'd be good to have him in the later rounds. So I don't love it. It gets difficult, man. It's still kind of gross. Slicing and dicing through it a little bit. I think you guys did really well at the jump there with really attacking the double Western Conference big boys. So
I know I like how at the start we're talking, a 4-4-3-3, and then Andy and I just come out and rip a 4-4-1-1 with 9 West.
Yeah, in hindsight, the Sabonis should have been a Bam, but I don't have an issue with taking two teams like four two teams in the West. I think it's totally fine.
For sure, and we have so much ammo for getting out. Sweet. You mentioned should we build a club pick'em here for the road? You got any guys that you've been drafting a lot?
We have this fun first quarter special for Draymond.
Oh.
But does he foul out in the first quarter? The no is let's see. So I'm really high on Dejounte Murray
just
tonight.
Take 4 personals and a double tech.
Let's see here. Any of these in particular stand out, or just his man?
Do they have his fantasy points? I know.
Let's see. Fantasy points 47.5 or 0.05.
Yeah. So I have him projected for 49 almost, and I'm seeing him generally in that range. Let's see, what does ETR have in that? 48.5. But he's someone. So Trae Young is out tonight, so he's going to be
Okay.
leading point for them.
Nice.
So I like that.
Yeah, JGFC wish we could phone a friend to get a fade Jack pick in here too.
Jack will be taking Knicks overs tonight.
I think there's some interesting Chicago Bulls guys, Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan. I like both of them tonight. I have a good chunk of both of them.
Nice.
Chipsy.
Yeah, the rest of I'm gonna have to go up 4:30, but I'll just keep the stream up and Andy can just go line by line reading his projections.
Andy, how high do you have DeJounte up tonight?
He is my 3rd overall player tonight.
There you go. There you go.
Do you like DeRozan over 39.95 fantasy points, Andy?
Over 39. I do. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I like that. I think, it could be close, but they're playing a pretty bad team, so it's like more so blowout risk than anything else there. But
in Vooch,
I have him at like 44 points.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right, we need one more to get this up to a 20x because we're going to use the freebie.
Yeah, what do they have for Paolo Banchero? He's one where his projection on here might be high. He's going for cheap in the drafts because he's questionable with an illness, but he's going to play.
Okay. All right. Why isn't it? It's getting sticky here. Paolo, you said it's at 38.05.
Let's see. What do I have from that? It's pretty close to where I have him. I have him at 39.5.
Okay.
What's Steph's three-point line at?
That's always a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this new they're rolling out like a free pick'ems thing in North Carolina soon as part of their change with like the sports book coming out as well. They just turned off like traditional pick'ems.
We're getting a negative doc on Curry's 3-pointers, 0.85x for 4.5 3-pointers.
That's no bueno. The funny part about those, though, I like taking those is because, like, it's pretty reasonable that Curry hits 5 threes in a game, but he might not hit 30 points. It's a little bit of a different taking, but I don't like it juiced like that.
Any others, or should we go back to what do you got, one, Clay?
No. I mean, like, Luke has been flirting with a triple-double for a while up until the last 2 games, but I don't think it's strong enough against Cleveland. That's not necessarily the environment we would think of Luka getting a triple-double in more often than not, but anything's possible. It's good. I think it's a good spread on that game tonight, right, Andy? Am I mistaken on that?
I'm not sure what the spread is offhand. Let's see. Wrong thing.
I have that.
One other guy who I like is Rudy Gobert. Karl Anthony Towns was ruled out, but they don't have his fantasy points up. But we could just take his like over on rebounds or something. That could be kind of fun.
Yeah, let's see. I got Gobert up 14 and a half rebounds.
It's definitely a lot, but I do think he will get a lot of rebounds today. Let's see. I don't project individual stats, so I don't have
let's see. I mean, that's a fuck ton of rebounds. The only thing I don't like, it's just like Wemby is such a variable where it's like they're both just tall motherfuckers.
Whatever, I'm sending it. Oh, Mac, what? Forgot I was maxing me on that.
Because we have the.
Yeah. All right. If you want to tail the club, pick them. There you go. GA public service announcement. Puck playoff basketball contest is live. Maybe I'll get together with my guy DJ. I did a puck basketball stream with him last year. That was fun. But thank you guys for giving me a little crash course in NBA playoff best ball, I will be getting in these streets. When do playoffs start? How long do we have with this contest open?
Like late
April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We got
about 2 full months of drafting here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely gotta do a check-in with
I didn't last time.
we gotta check in with Zakarian and Skeets, so we get closer to playoff time and kind of get some of their takes on who they're liking matchup wise and stuff. So it'll be fun. We got some good NBA content ahead of us.
Yeah, we can we'll definitely mix in. We can do some more dances, can roll in some dailies depending on how the slate is and all that good stuff. I mean, not to mention, I mean, this show did start as a crypto NFT show. I mean, crypto just absolutely ripping right now, right, Andy?
Oh yeah, it's fun. I'm refreshing CoinGecko every half an hour, checking the prices.
And what did I see? You won IKB won something. What was the blast thing?
Yeah, so we're going to be rolling out like a pretty big update for the platform, probably tomorrow. Don't hold me to that. And so we won the kind of like developer contest on Blast, along with a bunch of other teams. But it'll give us basically a bunch of Blast tokens that we're going to be able to give away to people playing and stuff. And we're going to give away 100% of the tokens that we got, which is pretty exciting. We're rolling out an update that'll be nice where like you can just deposit crypto. You don't have to set up MetaMask and all of that. You can just send crypto to as long as you have it in your MetaMask, it's like one transaction. You don't even need the gas for it. Then we'll shortly after that hopefully add credit card support. But then we're working on some salary cap games right now. That's kind of like we have pick'ems and I think they're pretty good. They're we don't downgrade you based on correlation like Underdog and Prize Picks do. So if you want to try to take advantage of us, you can go for it.
All right.
But then, yeah, we have a salary cap games is really our next focus. And our thing is we are going to have 100% zero rake salary cap games.
Ooh.
And we do not plan to change that. And we have some other monetization paths that we're thinking about long term. And so we're going to start with some NBA stuff. But yeah, it should be fun.
Nice, dude. Yeah, check out IKB. Clay, anything on your end?
No, I'll get on my end, man. I'm just I'm pumped for the rest of the season. To get League Pass tuned up and some of these games going. Wemby is fun. If you guys have not watched Wemby yet, and you can catch a Spurs game in some capacity, it's worth it. He's everything we thought he was going to be and more at this point in time. I'm already ready to I don't think it's like an unpopular take. So watch the Wemby before and don't draft him. I've seen he has an ADP. Do not draft Wemby. They're not making the playoffs. He'll get shut down, but watch a game before that happens.
Yeah, Beastburf, I just dropped the link to IKB in the chat. He said you got rid of the Zach Ertz stock photo you had.
Yeah, we did. We paid an artist to make us a real image. But yeah, check it out. If you follow us on Twitter, you can anticipate that like probably tomorrow, if not Thursday, we will be adding the sign up button to the website, which has otherwise not existed so far yet. And so should have some fun stuff.
Beautiful. For me, I got 2 shows tomorrow, back to back. We'll be doing the Swolecast back at 1 p.m. Excited to write Overzet's overview for tomorrow. Some fun material to work with this week. And then off and on the clock, we're going to be rolling on Wednesdays throughout the off season. So you can catch that one back to back. That'll be on the Badge Bros channel. I believe the fellas want to draft a big board draft. So I'll be getting in my it'll be my 3rd big board draft if you want to check that out tomorrow on the Badge Bros channel. Otherwise, we will try to keep these shows rolling on Tuesday afternoons. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hop in the dance drafts with us on Underdog. We'll see you around here on the